Hey everybody, Wandering Pastor coming to you again today with another thought about the end times, about evidence of the end, and that is the hubris, the arrogance of our leaders. Now, I'm just not just talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about the leaders that have been proud and arrogant for decades, and it seems to be getting worse, not better. And I believe those in leadership, whether it's in the White House or in the World Economic Forum or in the EU or wherever, though Russia, whatever, China, they are essentially exalting themselves more and more against the leadership of God. And that is, to me, evidence of the end. And here's why I say that. In Revelation, we talked about Revelation 13, the false prophet, last time. This time I want to talk about the beast, the Antichrist. That's how I understand it anyway. He says in Revelation 13, verse 1, "And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, and with 10 crowns on his horns, and each head had a blasphemous name. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but he had feet like those of a bear and the mouth of that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne, and the dragon being Satan, and gave great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but that fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Men worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they also worshipped the beast and asked, 'Who is like the beast? Who can make war against him?' The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise his authority for 42 months. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. He was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. He was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, those whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain at the creation of the world. He who has an ear, let him hear." Again, this presents the leader of some sort of a group of nations. Many people believe this is a 10-nation consortium of some kind, whether that's in Europe or whether that's the West or whatever it might be. It is a leader that emerges from among these nations, and he is the leader that everybody declares their allegiance to. The false prophet that we talked about last time comes and makes an image using, I believe, AI that then requires everyone to worship the image of this beast. But this beast is an arrogant leader who shakes his fists at and insults God, and who exalts himself and his leaders above God, who then exalts his ways, his thoughts, his solutions above God. And that is happening left and right in the leadership of our world right now. And it's been happening for decades. There was a time where leaders actually humbled themselves before the Lord. At least they didn't directly confront and directly oppose God and his word and his will. Now, more and more, they do. And in fact, it goes down to the famous verse that many of you have heard of in Revelation 13:18. This calls for wisdom. "If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is man's number. His number is 666. Now, I'm not much into numerology, but I know enough to know that in the Bible, the perfect number, the number of completion, is 7. Therefore, the number of incompletion is 6. Anything that's repeated 3 times is extra strong, like holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. It's like this is 100%. And so the number 777 would be absolute perfection. It's God's number. It's only God's number. The number 666 then would make sense that it would be perfect imperfection. That is the lack of completion. And yet mankind, I believe, will set themselves up against God. Mankind's rulers will set himself and themselves up against God and will directly oppose God, in particular in the end times. And we see this actually happening now. And that's why I say it's evidence of the end. We see it in like the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and even in the White House, even in the EU, even in China and in Russia. These leaders are exalting themselves more and more against God and have been for decades. To say, I oppose you, I oppose your word, I oppose your standards. We're going to put new standards out there. We're going to push through boundaries that you say not to push through. The boundaries of creation, we're going to make new kinds of creation. The boundaries of sexuality, we're going to make new kinds of sexuality. The boundaries of all of these things that we're going to say, we're going to blow those standards out of the water. That's one way they do it. The other way they do it is they assume God is on their side. I know I'm going to win because God is with me. And they just, in their arrogance and in their hubris, just assume that. And God is much bigger than any one of the leaders, in particular those who don't bother to humble themselves before the Lord. Period. Reminds me of Psalm 2, which says, "Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand against the rulers gather against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains," they say, "and throw off their fetters." They're throwing off God's standards, his word, his truth, his teaching. They're throwing it off, saying, we don't need God. We're going to do it our own way. We're going to be our own salvation. We're going to figure out the best way to conquer all of these problems and to conquer all of these ills and to conquer all diseases and to conquer all limits on our technology. We're going to do it ourselves. We don't need God. The one enthroned in heaven, verse 4, laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. That he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath, saying, "I have installed my king in Zion, my holy hill. I will proclaim the decree of the Lord," he said to me. "You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You will rule them." He's talking to Jesus here. "You will rule them with an iron scepter. You will dash them to pieces like pottery. Therefore, you kings, be wise. Rulers of the earth, be warned. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son," not the Son, but the Son of God, "lest he be angry and you be destroyed in your way. For his wrath can flare up in a moment, and blessed are those who take refuge in him." And that there is the hope, that last sentence, "Blessed are those who take refuge in him." That's to be our response, because here's the truth. Here's the secret. It's not just rulers who are arrogant. It's not just leaders who have hubris and who exalt themselves against God. It's you and I. You and I, who, even those of us who claim to know the Lord, if we're living as though we figured it out, if we're living as though we don't need God for literally every breath, if we're living as though we can make our decisions our way, we can form our opinions our way, that we don't need to humble ourselves before the Lord every day, all the time, and seek his leadership. We don't need to humbly walk with him. If we're living as though, I got it, I'm good. I'm a born-again believer, I'm going to heaven, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm forgiven. Now I'm just going to go. No. That's not what it's designed to be. We are called to constantly submit ourselves to the leadership of the Lord, to humble ourselves and to take refuge, as it says, in him. In James chapter 4, it says this, "You adulterous people, don't you understand that friendship with the world is hatred toward God? Anyone who chooses to be a friend of this world becomes an enemy of God. That's why it says God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. So submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Come near to God and God will come near to you." This isn't just a one-time thing. This is an ongoing thing. And this is not just for rulers. This is for us. This is for you and I. And he ends up with saying in verse 10, "Humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift you up." So, in an age where the rulers are increasingly saying mankind knows no boundaries, if we take artificial intelligence plus our own intelligence and we set it off, we're going to break through every boundary there is. We don't need God anymore. In an age where mankind is saying that, and the leaders are saying that, and they're welcoming that, in an age where other leaders are saying, I know God's will, I know he's on my side, I'm going to do it my way, and it's going to be right, and we're going to win, and God's going to make it happen. It's still arrogance, hubris, pride, the very same sin that Lucifer fell with before the creation even of this world, even before Adam and Eve. It got Adam and Eve. It's been getting people in Genesis chapter 10, I believe it was, about the Tower of Babel, where mankind said, hey, let's make a name for ourselves and let's exalt ourselves above God. And essentially, let's thumb our nose at God. We don't need you. Look what we can do. That's been the same pattern throughout, and it still is. So what are we supposed to do instead? Well, I'm going to read to you Psalm 1. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on that law he meditates day and night. He will be like a tree planted by streams of water, who yields its fruit in season, whose leaf never withers. Whatever he does prospers. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. And that's the invitation to you and I. That's the invitation to our leaders, and certainly I pray for our leaders that they would humble themselves before the Lord and seek his face always. But the reality is they won't. We know that as time gets closer to the end, the arrogance and the hubris of leaders will get worse. We know that most of the world will follow along. We don't need God. We'll figure it out ourselves. We have artificial intelligence now. We are wise. We are evolved. We are enlightened. We don't need that. Instead, if you're a faithful person, you and I need to embrace humility before God, dependence on the Lord, seeking his leadership all the time. That's the only way that you're going to get through whatever darkness faces us in the world. No matter when the rapture happens, no matter when the church is removed from this world, no matter when the believers, the remnant or whatever is removed from this world, the reality is there are things going on right now in which we have to fight through. And instead of going in the flesh that says, I am going to get angry about this, I'm going to oppose this, I'm going to go after that. Instead, we need to seek the Lord. We need to humble ourselves, seek his leadership and seek his face always. So with that in mind, Wandering Pastor saying, it's about you and I. It's not about them. Let's humble ourselves before the Lord and seek his leadership, okay? Then he will guide us no matter what darkness happens around us, okay? All right. If you have any questions or comments about this, please email me at wanderingpastor@gmail.com or comment on the videos. Share them if you think they'd be helpful to people. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.